Welcome back to the LEC, and in the final game of the day, Fnatic defeats Team Vitality for the match of the week. I'm joined by the victorious Upset. Congratulations on the victory. First question, should they have left the Zeri open because you had a great performance on that champion?
I think Zeri is really strong right now, definitely one of the strongest ADs, but you can try to play against it because her strength is maybe not a very oppressive laning phase. She is really good at everything, but she doesn't really dominate early on in the game. It's more late on. She gets really strong, so you can try to shut it down with like a really strong lane like Aphelios Thresh, and Aphelios is also very strong. And I have been prioritizing this champ, so maybe it was like more of a takeaway of the Aphelios Thresh because me and Hilly are very good at it. But yeah, I think usually you're supposed to pick Zeri if it's open, just because it's so strong right now in the meta. It's so flexible. It's like tanky, does a lot of damage, is super mobile, has good laning. I mean, what more do you want from a champ?
Earlier this week, I also asked Nukta, who played mid lane Zeri, about the cons and pros of this champion, and he actually rated Zeri as the strongest champion in the meta right now. How would you differ Zeri from other standard, late game hyper carry champions such as Jinx and Aphelios?
Yeah, usually the late game hyper carries have like really long range and oppressive in this way, but Zeri is more like pretty tanky for an AD carry and also super mobile, like the most mobile champ probably. So she dominates the game in a really different way and in a more broken way, it feels like, because the other champs, at least they are immobile or you have a chance to shut them down if they misstep. But Zeri has a lot more leeway, I would say, to make mistakes if she's good in the game. So yeah, I think the champ is probably, like Nukta said, definitely one of the strongest right now.
Okay, thank you for the insight, because I think a lot of fans out there was curious about this champion. Talking about the victory in general, I know that Fnatic had a really great start to the LEC and had like some victories, some losses. I was talking to Hillison yesterday. Yeah, we won against SK, but it was expected because I know that Fnatic as a team, as well as the players on Fnatic, always aspires for greatness. So what does it mean for you that you have beaten Team Vitality today?
I mean, the result is not as important as the things we have been improving on. And I felt like this week was much more productive than our weeks before. I felt like we were kind of slow in our practice, but this week we really improved a lot more, I think, and we could really pin some mistakes down after the shaky weeks before that and after the good start. So I feel really happy that we managed to improve on our weaknesses a lot, and I think we are much more stable now, it feels.
Okay, thank you. And one final question is, the match of the week next week is Fnatic versus G2, the old rivalry that the LEC loves. And I believe that depending on the results, Fnatic and G2 may be vying for the second place. So what is the one thing that Fnatic wants to work on between now and next week in order to come higher on that G2 matchup?
I think last time we were stomping them early game if we would play it better, and we just didn't manage to come through. So I expect us to win versus G2 because I think we have stronger players, especially on bot lane. I think this time we will snowball a lot harder, and I think we will make sure that we will win this match.
Thank you for the amazing insights. And again, congratulations on the 2-0 victory.
Thank you.
Thank you. And don't go anywhere, as we'll be heading to the post-game lobby with Sjokz and Caedrel, joined by Mac of Mad Lions.
Thank you very much, Ashley. It was wonderful having you here for the interviews. And you're also here next week, I believe, so that's great. Oh, is that a spoiler? I'm sorry, production. In any case, lovely to hear from Upset as well. And lovely to have Mac with us. Hello, Mac.
Hello there. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. I mean, we're actually really excited to talk to you. Oh, thank you so much. We're super excited to talk to you. Obviously, maybe it's not the happiest of occasions because it wasn't a great week for the Mad Lions, but we'll see. We won't take it easy, though. We're going to grill you a little bit if you don't mind.
That's okay. That's okay. I've had better days, but I've also had worse. Yeah. You want one of the ties, Caedrel?
I would love one. They look amazing. I saw you handing them out at Worlds last year as well. I was a little bit jealous. I couldn't be on site to snatch one as well.
Is that a lion or is it a sloth?
I can't tell.
They are guardian lions, which is like a kind of Chinese mythological creature which is supposed to guard the Emperor's Jade Palace.
Ooh.
That's awesome. I love that so much.
Thai lore, my favorite lore. No, my favorite lore is lore. Actually, our lore. Anyways, that was, oh my God.
So yes.
Anyways, let's get into it. Let's talk about the match of the week. Because, Mac, for you, of course, it's probably interesting seeing your two ex-players, your babies, let's say, in Humanoid and Caedrel. They're on other teams and they're up versus each other. What did you think first of the match of the week and Fnatic's victory?
I think Fnatic is playing some pretty good League of Legends, to be honest with you. It's nice to see both of them doing well, honestly. It's really interesting to see how they do on different teams as well, and how kind of they change and grow and evolve over time. And yeah, it's really interesting to see the differences between, like, you grow so used to a person when you work with them for so long. You know, like Marek and I worked together for 3 years, Kazi for 2. So a lot of things kind of go under the rug, or like go without saying or without being noticed. So yeah, it's really interesting to see all of those differences and how they apply in different teams as well.
Yeah, definitely. And we heard from Hillesang how kind of vocal Humanoid is in the team and how he's kind of like the voice of Fnatic now. And we spoke to Targamas in the picks and bans. We said TF Pyke need to get the game rolling in the early stages, but actually they weren't the ones actually doing much. No. It was Razork dominating from the early game onwards. This fight here, getting the kill on the Perks, winning them the topside fight is what got them the 4 kills to snowball the mid to late game. And just fantastic performance by him. I want to highlight Razork because I think that his early games were quite poor in the first couple of weeks and maybe he was finding his footing, but now he looks like a very consistent player for Fnatic.
He's also the key player of the game, Razork, with 76% of the votes. Beautiful from him. Mac, you said Fnatic is playing some pretty good League of Legends right now, and I think the results reflect that as well. Are there a couple of things you could highlight that you are particularly impressed with?
Yeah, I think in general the way that they move the map together as a unit is really good. I think that when they get pushed somewhere, or when they get vision somewhere, or when they are able to get a push out on a specific lane or able to get mid priority, they're very good at transferring it quickly and kind of staying one step ahead of their opponents. So I really like that playstyle in general.
Don't know if we missed it, but the key player of the game was Razork, of course, with 76% of the votes, as said. Interesting to see his development also now on a new squad. I'd also like to talk a bit about the other team. We said it already, Caedrel and Vitality. The consensus seems to be that the super team isn't really gelling that much yet. What is your coach's perspective on it?
Yeah, it hasn't looked seamless, that's for sure. I think they've obviously, and I think most teams have at this stage, been going through like a big phase of kind of experimentation. They've played kind of a bunch of different looks. I guess the problem that they have is that they have a lot of very kind of high resource players, and it can be difficult to balance that, especially as you're trying to adapt week to week to week to week, depending on patch, depending on opponent. So yeah, there's like a lot of plates in the air for them, I guess.
Yeah, and if you look at like just raw players, we expected Vitality to be one of the teams to come out of the gate swinging. A lot of teams signed rookies, like G2 got a brand new bot lane. But if you look at the Vitality roster, I guess the only real rookie you can count is Labrov, even though he had the last year in the LEC anyway. You've just signed star players from different teams, right? Selfmade, Perks from C9, Alfari from TL, Caedrel from Mad Lions, all winning in their regions, come together. You expect, if any team's going to win the start of a split, it's probably them. But there's a lot of growing pains, it feels like. I mean, they've just kind of fallen over so many hurdles. Week 1, the Astralis game, losing to Exile, now losing to Fnatic. When are they going to get into gear is the question, right?
Yeah, and I think when we look at the standings as well, maybe we can do that now. We see that a lot of teams need to kick into gear. That middle of the pack is looking extremely dicey. We, in fact, had a Sjokz and statement in ReadyCheck that's like a contentious statement. Mac, that said, Mad Lions will not make it to the playoffs. And it's kind of weird, right? Because you guys are the reigning champions, but a lot of changes have come through in the team. So let me first open the floor to you to talk about, how do you reflect on Mad Lions and the current state of the team?
I mean, I think the little question you had was, are playoffs in danger or something like that, right? And I mean, like, mathematically, there's no arguing that is the case, right? Theoretically, when you look at the standings, we're very close to Vitality and close to XL, and realistically, like, if it were playoffs tomorrow, then those 3 teams would be fighting for the last spot, right? I think reflecting on how we're doing in general, I think I should probably take a little bit of responsibility for some of the ups and downs we've had. We've been very shaky. I think there are some really clear positives that we have. I think we've had really good early games, and that's something that we worked on a lot. Like, I think our early game stats are actually like the best in the league. But there's obviously been a lot of problems with us transitioning to the mid game, which is to be expected. I would say when you're working with less experienced players, especially when you look at kind of the strength of the league on those 2 positions that we have rookies in, right? I think mid lane in this year is very strong as well, with Perks coming back to the league, and I think VTO stepped up a lot as well last year, so that's a pretty difficult role to fill. But going back to what I was saying, I think I'm someone who's always had a big philosophy of experimenting a lot during the regular season in draft, doing a lot of different things, giving players a lot of agency to try out things that may or may not work. Like you saw this Friday, we had an Irelia draft, and I kind of believe that Irelia is basically always a flip when you draft Irelia, and sometimes it looks amazing, and then sometimes it doesn't look amazing. But I'm usually okay with that. I think perhaps it's my bad to a certain extent for being so open to that and so open to experimentation with comps that are very difficult to play, right? Like I think on paper, the comp that we have on Friday, I like it, but I also recognize that it's a comp that's not easy to execute. And so that's a pretty big hurdle for our team to get over while we're still trying to figure out what our identity is and how we want to play the game and actually just learn the concepts of the mid game and kind of restructure what we're doing in terms of our shot calling structure, like who's making the calls, what our overall philosophy is, and yeah, there are a lot of hurdles there, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting because we've grown accustomed to the Mad Lions always kind of doing this in the regular season. But I guess the difference was that you ended up winning the championship and there was a certain pedigree to the players and you've gelled, optimally by that point. But this is completely different because you have two players that are a lot more inexperienced coming into key roles. So I love that you are mentioning this and saying, well, hey, maybe we should just focus on the fundamentals a fair bit. And when it comes to the mid lane, we yesterday had Zanzara on PGL. I don't know if you caught that.
I did not.
Yeah, he was, you know how he is, and he had some strong opinions about Reker specifically after, we talked a little bit about Lions, and he said maybe he has some issues adjusting to the champion pool right now that a lot of champions that he would prefer would get hit by the patch or the victors are getting banned out. Is that specifically a working point for you guys?
I mean, I think there's definitely like an adjustment period going on there. Frankly, I've actually been really impressed with Reker so far in practice. I think that what I mentioned about experimenting a lot and changing a lot of things, I think he's suffered particularly as a result of that, which is really my bad, honestly. But I have a lot of faith in him. I think he'll be completely fine by the end of the split. And yeah, I think it's important to reiterate as well that like right now we're like sharing 6th, 7th place spot right in the league. And if you look at who I think are the top 5 mid laners in the league, you have Humanoid, Caps, Larson, VTO, Perks. Like that's not an easy list of mid laners to contend with for a rookie player.
Great
like
point.
Humanoid and Larson are, VTO is the least experienced of those, and he has a year and a half experience in LEC.
Yeah.
And then after that you have like 3 years on Humanoid, 3 years on Larson, more than that on Caps, I don't know how many, and then a lot on Perks, right? Like this is a very experienced role with a lot of pedigree that Reker is adapting to. So of course there are going to be some hurdles.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, completely right point there. It's something kind of overlooked. When Perks comes back, VTO steps up. The mid lane pool in Europe's all of a sudden ascended to another level where it was like last year, it was like the battle between Caps and Humanoid. One question I did have, Mac, is when I look at Mad Lions and I look at them on stage and outside the game, they have so much fun. Specifically, Carzzy and Humanoid last year were just joking. There was kissing after games that we saw. The vibes looked incredible. How are the vibes with the team now? Because to me, it looked like Humanoid and Carzzy were the ones always cracking up the jokes. Is Reker and Unforgiven slotting in well?
I would say so, yeah. I would say so. I think in general the vibe is certainly more quiet. I will admit that. There's a little bit less screaming and giggling around in general. But I think one thing that I'm really happy with is that we usually have really, really productive discussions. I think everyone is really on board and on board with the idea of making sure that we give constructive criticism, that we're open to trying new things, and that they're taking responsibility for when things go wrong. So in general, I've been impressed, and in general, I think that our veteran players have done a really good job of stepping up into those roles as well, and kind of leading by example. So I think we still need some time to gel and fully get to know each other. It's always a very roller coaster ride, and it always feels like you have loads of carefully laid plans about all these things you're going to do to have a great culture and do loads of team building and spend lots of time together, and then you get into the season and suddenly you just have no time. There's a balance for sure.
Yeah, I love the way you're talking about your team. You've always been leading by example yourself very much, and I think it's quite interesting that when you started out as a coach, you were a rookie yourself, and I think you found yourself working with very young first-time players, etc. It almost feels like you now have to take everything that you've learned in your past couple of years, both working with the most experienced players, working with the newer players, and try to find a new plan. Are you experiencing new challenges as a coach yourself, and are you learning a lot throughout this new team as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a really interesting challenge, I would say. Personally, I was quite worried at the end of last year, and I had this question for myself a lot. Was like, if like when we were discussing if Humanoid was going to leave the team, like if he does leave, like have I just been getting carried by this guy for like 3 years?
One question I actually wanted to pose towards you is more about the league holistically. Do you think Europe as a whole, in terms of the strength of teams, has gone up? So a lot of people had this opinion that the upper half of teams were gotten a lot stronger, the bottom half got weaker, and the middle's just always the fiesta it is. Do you share that kind of sentiment on Europe after last year coming into this year?
I think it's really hard to say in spring. Generally speaking, I feel like there are not that many people who play good League of Legends in spring, all the way up until like finals. Even if you look at MSI compared to Worlds, like we felt that difference, like scrimming the teams at Worlds last year. The difference between the MSI finalists at MSI and then at Worlds was like enormous. So it's always really contentious for me to actually evaluate the strength of the league in spring. I would say that it's perhaps gotten more top heavy. Yeah, since last year.
Yeah. Okay. Max says we shouldn't panic yet.
Don't panic yet.
Everybody shut up. Reddit, Twitter, don't be negative. We're scaling. We're not bad. We're scaling. We're scaling into the late game. Exactly. Let's also take a look at the Kia Player of the Game leaderboard. Always exciting to see who is leading that one. Vitio, 6 wins. I mean, yeah.
You gotta love it. I mean, he renamed his account to LEC 2022 Spring MVP, right? And he's showing a hell of a performance so far, stepping up for his team ever since Razork left. Neon, of course, having fantastic performances. Misfits 1 win away from 2nd place. Now I think they're tied for 3rd. So yeah, incredible performance by them, considering they finished Summer in 4th and were 1 game away from Worlds.
Yeah. Nuts.
That's nuts.
I think it's so impressive that Hylissang has 4 MVPs as a support, by the way. That's amazing.
Yeah, Mickey's in there as well. Supports are getting some agency, actually. Talking about that, who have been the supports that have impressed you, aside from the usual suspects, I should say, maybe?
Aside from the usual suspects.
Out of the new ones, Mersa,
usual suspects like
Hylissang,
Mickey.
Yeah, usual
Kaiser.
suspect. And Mickey is actually not a usual suspect because he was gone and he came back, so I don't know.
Let me think a second. I mean, I think Mercer has had a pretty successful transition into the LEC. I think good for him. I think Treats has role swapped back to support rather seamlessly, which has been nice to see as well. I liked him as a support before he role swapped as well last year, and I think he's still pretty good now. So yeah, I would say those 2 are the first ones that come to mind.
Let's also take a look at the schedule for next week, because I believe you are facing both Misfits and Rogue. So Rogue is actually on the first day, and then Misfits on the second day. Yeah, talk to me maybe starting about Rogue. Rogue, who went on an undefeated streak, but now had an 0-2 week. What's your read on them?
It's funny. I think Rogue are also doing an experimentation phase. I think they were definitely trying some stuff this weekend, and it didn't work out. So probably be right in time for them to be really angry and try-harding for their lives next weekend, which is great for us.
Yeah, it feels like these teams have experimentation phases where it's like you either realize you've been playing one style until playoffs and you have to sort of pivot towards week 7, week 8. Maybe you come out of the gates like, we'll try some things. It's only week 1. Or maybe you're halfway through the split sitting with comfortable wins and you're like, okay, now's the time. And I think that's where Rogue's sitting.
Yes, we'll see. The match of the week is on Saturday, and it is G2 versus Fnatic. Quick prediction.
Classic. Oh, the classic. Oof, it's hard to predict these ones. Every single one of my predictions goes the opposite way, but I'll say Fnatic for this one because they just look so consistent. I feel like the beast has awoken. Razork's early games are better. Hylissang and Humanoid didn't really have to do anything in their win today, so that's kind of dangerous if you think about it.
Gold card bot. Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I think if Razork stays on form, then I would take Fnatic as favorites for sure.
Definitely. All right. Well, Mac, thank you so much for talking to us about the Mad Lions and the forum and being so open as you always are.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No problem. And we're also going to take a selfie. Before I forget, I wouldn't. Woo! Just have to be careful because my shoes really hurt after 10 hours in the studio.
My things are falling off a bit, but we're good. I think I have them.
It's a struggle.
Okay, nice. Mark, I'm going to get you one of these tires, okay?
Oh my God, what a homie.
And I really hope we can see you in person soon and take a selfie as well.
That would be lovely.
One day soon, hopefully.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Mac, and good luck next week.
Oh, it takes a picture on the
Thank you
screen
very
as
much.
well. That's so cool.
It does. We'll see you all next weekend for more LEC. But of course, LCS's week 2 of the spring season is also starting in just a bit with Evil Geniuses facing off against Dignitas.
TL versus C9 later.
Yeah. And for more LEC action, we're back next Friday for week 6, of course. Bye.
The race for playoffs.
Yeah. Welcome to Berlin, Germany, home of the LEC and week 5, day 2 of the 2022 spring season. The race for playoffs continues to heat up as Team BDS and Excel are entering the stage for the first match of the day in an all-important midfield clash.
Here comes Kaiser, jumps all the way forward onto Jezu, and that is just too easy. Treats will be the next target. It's zapped, shot down with the minigun. 2 quick, easy kills for Mad Lions duo. That's a golden Reker in the Hourglass form as Surtur jumps forward. So much damage, a double kill for Jezu with a Moonlight Vigil. Another for Genax. They've done it. SK Gaming have aced the Mad Lions and are setting their sights on the base.
SK Lightning does strike twice.
Larson with a stopwatch is still shut down. A Marang too late to the party, my friend. The drinks are gone, the appetizers have been served, and you are too late to join this party. Nexus falls. G2 take the win. Upset's going to dive across the wall, self-made in the midst of the fight. He's immune for the moment, but he's not immune to death. Kazi trades 1-for-1 down towards the bottom side. Upset though now on a killing spree as Perks is forced underneath the tower. And Upset will chase him down, but the tower's in the way. And Upset, not today, says Perks. Shut